Disowned by my family at a young age, I never thought I would see them again. But fate has a way of bringing people back together. At a lavish wedding, I unexpectedly crossed paths with them once more. And the moment they saw me, their contempt was undeniable. My mother sneered, "Why is that useless girl here?" My sister smirked, "You weren't invited." But just as her husband was about to throw me out, he suddenly froze. His expression changed, his voice unsteady. "Wait, this woman is—" I simply smiled and said, "You really have no idea, do you? My name is Maya Ford, and I'm 30 years old. I live with my husband, Adam, who is 5 years my senior, and our 5-year-old son. Today, I'm attending a wedding with Adam. While the bride and groom are familiar acquaintances, it's Adam who has a stronger connection with them. I only recognize them by sight. The wedding is at a luxury hotel, and although I know it's improper, I can't help but wonder just how much all of this costs." Adam mentioned he was going to mingle with some people at the event, so I excused myself to use the restroom. As I was leaving the ladies' room to return to the ceremony, I overheard some unpleasant voices. "Well, look who it is, that defective piece of goods. What's she doing in a place like this?" "What do you mean, Mom?" "Goodness, you're right. Why is she even here? We didn't invite her." I could feel the sting of their words. They weren't even bothering to whisper anymore, they were throwing insults with such ease. Still, they hadn't addressed me directly, and I wanted nothing to do with people so blatantly rude. So I tried to hurry away. "Hey, don't walk away from me, you ugly thing. I know you can hear me." I wasn't sure if they had just called out to me, but I chose to ignore it. Ugly thing wasn't my name. As I walked quickly down the hallway, I heard footsteps following behind me, making me jump. This is ridiculous. They should have given up by now. Why keep embarrassing themselves like this? As I thought that, someone suddenly grabbed my arm. Apparently they had sprinted to catch up with me. Their nails dug sharply into my skin. "I told you to wait!" the woman snapped, out of breath. I looked her up and down before shaking off her hand. As I did, she stumbled dramatically, letting out a theatrical cry. Honestly, what a pointless show. "Elle, are you all right? How violent she is!" Another woman, who had been trailing behind, gasped as she came to support the first. Then, she shot me a furious look. "Excuse me, but what's going on here? Who do you think you are?" "Who am I? Are you really asking me that?" I replied, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "You seem like a self-absorbed, rude person. Have we met before?" Her perfectly shaped eyebrows shot up. "What's your problem? How dare you talk to me like that? If you've really forgotten, let me remind you. I'm your sister, Elle. Does that ring a bell now? Surely even your disappointing brain can recall that. And this," she said, gesturing to the woman beside her, "is our mother. Don't tell me you've forgotten your own mother, too?" Well, I suppose someone by that name might have been close to me once upon a time. I tilt my head. These people aren't worth engaging with seriously. My response seems to anger them both further. Just then, 2 men come running up. "Hey, what's all the commotion? We could hear the shouting from over there. Elle, are you finished with preparations? Oh wait, you're still in your regular clothes. You need to change quickly. Dad! Ron! This person! There's an intruder who's crashed our wedding. Please throw her out right now." Elle, as she calls herself, points at me while shouting. Didn't anyone teach her it's rude to point at people? The 2 men's reactions upon seeing me were complete opposites. The man called Dad widened his eyes, then scowled with obvious displeasure. The man called Ron froze with a shocked expression, the color draining from his face. Why is she here? I never thought I'd have to see her face on such a happy day. Right! She must have snuck in here by mistake. This is awful. Please call security right away. Hey, what are you saying? Watch your mouth. This person is Dr. Ford, Ron shouts with a pale face. Seeing this, I mutter quietly, "So, you really don't know anything, do you?" No one notices my muttered words. "Maya, so this is where you were. I was looking for you," says a new arrival, my husband Adam. Everyone's attention turns to him at once. Adam looks slightly taken aback. "Sorry, I meant to come right back, but I got caught up with some strange people," I say with a wry smile as I move closer to him. Adam blinks and looks around at everyone present. Then he mutters, "Ah, it seems he's quickly grasped the situation. That's my Adam." Elle, who had been staring at Adam in admiration when he suddenly appeared, quickly switches back to glaring at me when I stand beside him. The two called father and mother still wore confused expressions, as if they haven't fully processed the situation. Ron, meanwhile, is clearly flustered. He's also the first to speak up. Doctor? Ford, I'm so sorry. It seems my wife has been very rude. And, my deepest apologies to your wife as well. Hey! Elle, you apologize too. What? Why should I apologize? She's the one who should be apologizing. This shameless person who snuck into our important wedding. I don't know how she found out about it, but this woman is our family's shame. We threw her out of the house long ago and we were supposed to never see her face again. What family, you say? Adam seems surprised by this word and looks back and forth between Elle and me. The man and woman called father and mother quickly jump in to explain. Oh, I'm sorry, Ron. You see, we have a good-for-nothing eldest daughter. She's such an embarrassment we couldn't even bring ourselves to mention her. Well, we threw her out of the house 9 years ago. Really? I wonder how she found out about Elle's wedding, showing up here like this. What could she be planning? She's not trying to ruin Elle's wedding, is she? That's right. She was a foolish daughter who couldn't even get into college, just a useless defect. She wasted her time with part-time jobs after graduation and lazed around the house, being nothing but a nuisance. She was quite the parasite. We should be thanked for taking care of her through high school. The insults keep coming. However, I had long since given up on this family and had learned to gracefully ignore all manner of verbal abuse. Yes, technically, these people are my family. That's what the family register says. However, my parents doted on my sister, who is 6 years younger than me, and I was completely neglected from the time I could remember. My father's family had been doctors for generations and ran a medical clinic. My mother worked there as a nurse. On the surface, we probably looked like a family that wanted for nothing, but in reality, it was a family poisoned by toxicity. When I was a child, I think there were times when I tried hard to be loved by my parents, but after hearing their incomprehensible reason that my sister is cute and you're not for always prioritizing my sister, I stopped expecting anything from my family. Fortunately, if I do say so myself, I was smart and liked studying, so I focused on studying hard to get out of the house as soon as possible. By that time, I think I was already playing the role of the failed older sister to my family. Listen here. We won't allow you to go to college. You're just a defective good-for-nothing anyway. There's no way you could get into college. You'll start working right after high school, and you'll give us money. You need to properly repay us for raising someone as unlovely as you. That's right. You've always lacked gratitude. College expenses? We might consider it for 1 lakh, but we won't spend another penny on you. You'll spend your life serving this household. Well, I doubt you could get a decent job anyway. My parents told me this in my 3rd year of high school. By the way, I recorded that conversation, and I've kept it until today. By the time I was in high school, I was recording almost every abusive word and unreasonable treatment from my family. Elle, my sister, completely looked down on me due to our parents' unchanging attitude and constantly tried to assert her superiority. I'm going to become a doctor and take over Dad's practice. I'll work hard for Big Sister's share too. Oh, how wonderful of you to say that. Yes, use her as an example of what not to be. Don't worry, Elle, you can do it. That's right, we'll support you all the way. Unlike your sister. Elle, you're truly our pride and joy. They would have these exchanges right in front of me, deliberately showing off. Yes, it was all just a charade. After graduating high school, I worked various part-time jobs as a freelancer for about 3 years. I did live at home during this time. Despite finding my presence annoying, they wouldn't let me leave the house on my own, probably because they wanted to keep me around to use as they pleased. But the truth was, I had secretly rented an apartment, They would say things like, "We won't forgive you if you do this," or "We won't forgive you if you don't do that." But I realized that once I became an adult, I no longer needed my family's forgiveness for anything. Of course, there were complexities finding a guarantor and other details to handle. Since I underreported my part-time income, I managed to keep the money they demanded for the household to a minimum. I also began investing and slowly built up my savings. Then, when my sister was preparing for her high school entrance exams, I was kicked out of the house under the convenient excuse that she can't concentrate on studying with you around. My parents had hoped to forgive me and let me return once things calmed down, but I seized the opportunity to leave for good. They must have been shocked that I, the one they thought couldn't survive on my own, didn't come back. But I'm sure they quickly lost interest. After all, my parents only needed my sister. It's been 9 years since then, hasn't it? As I lost myself in these memories, the argument between my sister and Ron, her fiancé, was escalating. Oh, right. Today's their wedding, these two are getting married. The invitation may have had my sister's name on it, but I didn't pay much attention. I thought it was just another person with the same name. That's how irrelevant this family had become to me. I'm telling you, why are you defending that woman? I've always said she's an intruder. Her presence here is ruining everything. Throw her out. And I've been telling you, I invited them to this wedding. You checked the invitation list with me, didn't you? They've already checked in at reception. They're proper guests. Now apologize for being so rude earlier. The two of them bickered, their voices rising. Is it really okay for them to be fighting like this before the ceremony? While I pondered this, my father suddenly looked in our direction and his face froze in realization. Could he be the son of Ford General Hospital? What? Ford General Hospital? That massive hospital? You mean the director's son? At these words, my mother's eyes widened in shock. A hospital director's son? All their attention, my parents, my sister, and her fiancé, focused on us at once. Adam gave a slight bow. How do you do? I'm Adam Ford. This is my wife, Maya. I also gave a gentle bow, offering a sweet, polite smile. Indeed, Adam's parents are both accomplished doctors who run a long-established, prestigious hospital. Adam is their heir, and he's a promising doctor who constantly hones his skills. My parents gaped, their mouths opening and closing like fish, watching me smile with poise and grace. My sister's husband quickly intervened, trying to regain control of the situation. Oh, what a coincidence that Dr. Ford's wife is my wife's sister. This makes us family, Doctor. Alan, thank you for seeing our son the other day. I cut off his words. This man, Alan Ron, who is becoming my sister's husband, is also a doctor. He works at a university hospital and recently examined our son who hasn't been feeling well lately. That's the extent of our relationship, although it seems Adam has had various professional interactions with him before. Apparently, Alan admires Adam. How is your son doing? Based on my examination, he needs immediate treatment. Please come to our hospital for initial testing and dash. Ah, well, we decided to get another opinion afterward. You know how important second opinions are, right? As I continue with a sweet smile, he freezes completely. It seems Alan sees my son as a VIP patient. That's why he's so desperate to treat him at his hospital. However, it's not pleasant to have a patient, especially my own son, viewed as a cash cow. I reject him with a smile. Then there's a derisive snort. What's this? Are you trying to get back at us just because you're a high school graduate? You think you're something special for catching a doctor husband? How stupid can you be? Just because you married the heir to a big hospital doesn't make you any more important. Your education level hasn't changed. Your thinking is so shallow and you even have a son. How pitiful for a child to have such a defective person as a mother. Hey, Elle, that's enough. This whole time, they're blood relatives, aren't they? Why do you keep saying such things? Alan hurriedly tries to stop her. However, Elle glares at him. She absolutely believes everything she says is right. Suddenly, Adam turns to me and asks, Maya, are these people really your family? No, they're not family at all. After all, family doesn't suddenly yell at you for unreasonable things, or withhold food for a day just for spilling a little on the table, or give me hand-me-downs from who knows where while giving my sister brand-name dresses and laughing at the comparison, or throw away my study materials saying, "You're stupid anyway, so you don't need these." They don't ruin textbooks by soaking them in water, right? So these people aren't family anymore. You're right. Family doesn't throw you outside barefoot in winter for not lending a book to your sister, or lock you in a storage shed in summer calling it discipline. They don't sell your belongings without permission, or say to your face that they'll work you like a slave for life. Even the neighbors noticed something was wrong with how the clinic treated the sisters differently, suspecting abuse, and stopped bringing their children to a clinic where parents would treat their child that way. I'm surprised nobody reported them for child abuse back then. Now their business is suffering because of it, but they haven't even realized why. It's really something else. During our matter-of-fact exchange, revealing the awful treatment I received in the past, Alan is staring wide-eyed and my parents are surprised too. Surprised that their daughter who left home long ago knew about their clinic's declining business. By the way, this information came from my in-laws' investigation. My in-laws are very sympathetic about the treatment I received and get even angrier about it than I do. They're kind people, and Adam is the same way. They had been investigating my parents' clinic thinking it might be useful someday for revenge, perhaps. "Hey, stop telling lies. We never did any of that. It's your fault for being a failure." "Ron, don't believe what this woman says," my sister shouts defiantly, but I think it's too late. Alan was looking at her with disgust. If only she hadn't chased after me when I tried to ignore her and leave, this wouldn't have happened. "No, you're the one who's been lying all along." "What do you mean? You said Dr. Ford's wife only graduated high school. She's a college graduate who started a company and is its president, a medical food-related company that even our hospital relies on." "What? President?" My sister looks at me like she's seeing something unbelievable. My parents wore the same expression. "Don't you dare lie. You only graduated high school. What's this about college? Are you saying you went to college without telling us?" "Yes, I did. After all, I was an adult, and I had no reason to report anything to people who weren't really family anymore, right? How dare you speak to your parents that way? We told you we wouldn't allow you to go to college. And why exactly did I need your permission?" When I respond with exasperation, my parents grind their teeth. During my time as a part-time worker, after high school graduation, I had saved up a considerable amount of money. I used part of it for college expenses. There were still things I wanted to learn and things I wanted to do. Once I left home, I was completely free and could do anything. I met my current husband during college while I was starting my company. Thinking back on it makes me nostalgic again. Meanwhile, my sister was muttering something with a pale face. It's a lie. Because this one was a defective failure, a useless older sister who couldn't do anything on her own. I thought she must have died in a gutter somewhere after being thrown out of the house, but instead she even went to college, and now she's a company president, and she caught the heir to a big hospital. Why? I was supposed to be the one who would definitely be happier. Why? Why are you more successful than me? Why do you look so happy? I wonder why. Maybe because I kept working hard without becoming bitter even while receiving unreasonable treatment from my family. Well, I guess I was pretty lucky too. I said this while looking back at my sister. Then I dropped a bombshell. By the way, I heard you actually dropped out of middle school. Is that true? With those words, the atmosphere froze completely. The former family members and Alan all went rigid. What? What are you suddenly talking about? Who dropped out of middle school? My sister's nerve to talk back is impressive even now. Actually, I heard from our kind aunt who's always been good to me after I left home. You got complacent thinking you could easily get into any prestige school and didn't study at all. Then you showed up on exam day and turned in almost blank papers. Of course you failed. Then you threw tantrums at home and became a shut-in. You only started going out recently. That was after our parents introduced you to Dr. Allen as a suitable marriage partner, and only then did you finally break out of being a shut-in. As I speak, Alan's face grows increasingly stern. In contrast, my parents and sister lose more and more color. The aunt who told me this is a distant relative on my father's side. She's a gossip who somehow always knows everything and tells me about it. Though we'd only met 2 or 3 times when I was little, she always looked out for me and even became my guarantor. You stop spreading lies. My sister tries to object with a trembling voice, but I ignore her and continue. Also, you're supposedly working as a medical office clerk at the family clinic, but that's a lie too, isn't it? You don't actually have any qualifications and are just working as an odd jobs helper, right? They can't assign specialized work to someone without qualifications. I'm glad to see they retained at least that much ethical sense. Stop it. Those are all lies. Everything you're saying is a lie. Is that so? Well, I'm just telling you what I've heard. Whether you believe it or not is up to you. When I say this, my sister whirls around to face Alan. His expression is filled with suspicion, confusion, and disgust. Elle, you told me and our parents that you graduated from a famous women's university, then got your qualifications and were helping at the family clinic, right? Was it all lies? Academic fraud? This is fraud. You deceived me. That's not true, Ron. Don't believe what this woman says. Ron, you're my husband, right? Believe me. Then tell me the name of just one professor from the university you attended. When Alan presses her like this, my sister freezes. That's not relevant now. Oh no, then I'll call one of the professors from the department you claim to attend right now. They're acquaintances of my parents, they know me, their son, and we socialize as families. I'll ask if there was ever a student named Elle. Alan says this while reaching for smartphone. Stop it. There's no need for that. If you would just believe me, that should be enough. My sister lunges for Alan's phone, snatches it and slams it to the floor. Don't try to verify anything, just believe me. Then she grinds the phone further with her heel. Her expression is demonic. Alan is clearly put off, and my stunned parents hurriedly try to stop my sister. Other wedding guests and venue staff gather, drawn by the commotion. It turned into quite a spectacle. The truth is, it felt like someone else's problem, and that was because I no longer felt any connection to them. My family now consists solely of my husband and son. Well, shall we head home? We've given the wedding gift. We've fulfilled our social obligations, right? Are you sure you're finished, Maya? My husband asked with a subtle look, as if checking if I had said everything I wanted to, if I had gotten my revenge. I responded with a bright smile. I don't care anymore. Let's go home. Oh, how about we stop by the cake shop in this hotel on our way out? I've been dying to try their super luxury cake. Sure, let's do that. Let's buy some cake to take home. We laughed together and left the wedding venue. Sometime later, I heard that Alan had been sued for exaggerating diagnoses and charging excessive medical fees. Then, my parents came looking for my help, though. Of course, they didn't have my contact information. I heard they showed up at my husband's hospital, making a scene, demanding to see me. And my husband, listen here. You're the wife of this hospital's heir. She's our daughter. Let us see her right now. You can contact the heir through this hospital, can't you? We're in trouble here. She's family. She has to help us. We're just asking her to repay us for raising her. That's right. I never thought she'd be useful, but I guess raising her was worth it. Who would have thought she'd marry someone even better than Elle? Of course, the son-in-law should help us. They were apparently causing quite a scene at the reception. But instead of me or my husband, it was my in-laws who came out to meet them. My in-laws, it seems, silenced my parents with a single glare and said, "What do you want with our daughter?" My parents froze, like frogs before a snake, and scrambled away. They tried to reach out again after that, but eventually, their neglect caught up with them and their clinic closed down quickly. When I heard about it, I felt nothing. Then, I found out that my sister and her husband had divorced. Honestly, I was surprised their marriage even lasted a few months. Perhaps Alan getting sued and fired from the hospital was the final straw. My sister began making misguided attempts to prove she could be happier than me. First, she got involved with a married doctor more than 20 years her senior, trying to catch a better husband than mine. However, the affair was quickly discovered, and a scandal erupted when the doctor's wife demanded compensation. My sister, apparently, turned to our parents for help, but they turned their backs on her, disowning her as a family disgrace. I have no idea what happened to her after that. I've heard various rumors that she started working in nightclubs, her health deteriorating, and that she became homeless. But honestly, I didn't care anymore. As for my parents, I heard they were desperately looking for work as doctors and nurses, but no hospital would hire a couple their age, nearing retirement. Of course, these were just rumors about my parents, probably the result of how they had treated me, which had spread throughout the medical community. But I had no time to waste thinking about people who weren't even family anymore. After getting a second opinion at another hospital, my son's health issues were resolved with medication, without needing hospitalization. I protect my family. Always have, always will. And just like that, the past was left behind. Now, it's time to reflect and learn from this story. Maya's story isn't just about revenge, it's about resilience, growth, and breaking free from toxic relationships. For years, her family tried to convince her that she was worthless, but in the end, they were the ones left behind. She didn't seek vengeance. She simply lived well, thrived, and that was the greatest victory. True success isn't about proving others wrong, it's about proving yourself right. This story also serves as a powerful lesson in karma. Those who belittled her, mocked her, and discarded her ultimately faced their downfall due to their own arrogance. Her parents lost everything, her sister's lies were exposed, and those who once cast her aside were left with nothing but regret. But the most remarkable thing? Maya didn't have to lift a finger, she just kept moving forward, and the past crumbled on its own. What do you think? If you were in Maya's shoes, would you choose to forgive, or would you make them pay even more? Share your thoughts in the comments.
I found the document by accident while cleaning out Dad's home office. Just a single sheet of paper, really, but seeing Aunt Zuriel's signature next to that astronomical sum made my blood run cold. I'm Eleanor, by the way, and this is how I discovered my family's darkest secret, starting with a wedding invitation that would change everything. Ellie, darling, we simply must discuss Savannah's wedding arrangements. Aunt Zuriel's voice dripped honey over the phone, but I knew better. That tone meant trouble. You've done so well with your business. It's time to give back to the family. I pressed my fingers against my temple, already feeling a headache coming on. What exactly are you suggesting, Aunt Zuriel? Well, as the most financially successful member of our family, we thought you'd want to contribute to Savannah's special day. The venue alone is running us nearly 6 figures. I nearly choked on my coffee. 6 figures? For a venue? It's the Hamilton Estate, darling. Savannah has always dreamed of getting married there. And since you've been so blessed, let me get this straight. I cut in, my voice sharp. You want me to fund my cousin's wedding? The same cousin who hasn't spoken to me in 3 years except to comment cute on my Instagram posts? Don't be difficult, Eleanor. Family helps family. Your father agrees with me completely. Of course he did. Dad hadn't made a decision without Aunt Zuriel's approval since Mom died 12 years ago. I'm sorry, but no. I worked hard for my money. I'm not funding an extravagant wedding for someone who barely acknowledges my existence. The honey in her voice crystallized to ice. I see. Well, I'll be sure to let everyone know about your decision. The line went dead before I could respond. I knew what would follow. The passive-aggressive family group chat messages, the disappointed calls from Dad, the guilt-tripping from my sister, Lacey. Right on cue, my phone buzzed. Lacey, please tell me you didn't just refuse to help with Savannah's wedding. She said without preamble, "Hello to you too, sis." Ellie, come on. You know how Aunt Zuriel gets. Just throw some money at it and keep the peace. I stood up from my desk, pacing my home office. Why is it always about keeping the peace? Why am I always the one who has to give in? Because you're the one who can afford to. Lacey's voice rose. Some of us are still struggling to make rent. That's exactly my point. I struggled for years building my business while Savannah was getting her 4th degree funded by Aunt Zuriel. Now suddenly, I'm supposed to bankroll her dream wedding? You're being selfish. No, I'm being reasonable. I stopped pacing, my eye catching on Dad's office door across the hall. I'd been helping him organize since he mentioned selling the house. Look, I need to go. I'm at Dad's place sorting through papers. After hanging up, I pushed open the office door, the familiar scent of old books and leather hitting me. That's when I saw it. A paper had slipped partially under the ancient filing cabinet. I wouldn't have noticed it if the corner hadn't been sticking out. Pulling it free, I found myself staring at what looked like a bank statement. But the numbers? They didn't make sense. According to this, Aunt Zuriel had accessed over $2 million from what appeared to be a family trust fund, money I'd never known existed. The date on the document was from just after Mom died. My phone buzzed again. Dad. Eleanor, honey, about Savannah's wedding. Dad? I interrupted, my voice steady despite my racing heart. I need to ask you something. What do you know about a family trust fund? The silence on the other end lasted so long I thought the call had dropped. Then, barely above a whisper, where did you find that? So it's real? The $2 million Aunt Zuriel took? Eleanor, listen to me very carefully. Dad's voice shook. Don't mention this to anyone, especially not your aunt. Some things are better left in the past. But as I stared at the damning evidence in my hands, I knew this was just the beginning. They wanted me to fund a wedding? Fine. But first, I was going to uncover exactly what happened to those millions, and why nobody had ever thought to mention them to me. The wedding invitation sat on my desk, mocking me with its gold-foiled elegance. Well, Aunt Zuriel, you wanted me involved in this wedding? Be careful what you wish for. You're sure about this? Gregory leaned back in his chair, frowning at the document I'd spread across his desk. As my company's financial advisor, he'd become one of my most trusted confidants over the years. $2 million is a lot of money to just disappear. Look at the signature, I pointed. That's definitely Aunt Zuriel's. And the date, it's exactly 2 weeks after Mom's funeral. He pulled out his reading glasses, examining the paper more closely. Your mother's death. Was it unexpected? Car accident. The words still tasted bitter. At least, that's what we were told. Dad was a mess afterward, basically handed everything over to Aunt Zuriel to handle. Including the finances, Gregory murmured, more to himself than to me. He looked up suddenly. Give me a few days. I know some people who can dig deeper into this. My phone buzzed. Another message from Lacey. Family dinner tonight. Don't you dare skip this one. I showed Gregory the text. Want to bet this is an ambush about the wedding? Go, he said, carefully folding the document. Keep them thinking everything's normal while I look into this. The family home looked exactly as it always had. Pristine lawn, perfect flowers, and enough tension in the air to power a small city. Savannah's car was already in the driveway. Eleanor, Aunt Zuriel's voice carried across the front yard as I got out of my car. How nice of you to join us. Inside, Savannah sat at the dining room table, surrounded by wedding magazines. She barely glanced up as I entered. Oh, hi, Eleanor. Have you reconsidered about the wedding? I wasn't aware there was anything to reconsider. I took a seat across from her, noting how Aunt Zuriel hovered nearby. My answer hasn't changed. But the Hamilton estate, Savannah whined. It's perfect, and they need the deposit by next week. Then I suggest you find a more affordable venue. Aunt Zuriel's hand came down hard on the table. That's enough. Eleanor, may I speak with you in private? She practically dragged me into Dad's office, shutting the door behind us. Listen here, you ungrateful child. After everything this family has done for you, what exactly has this family done for me? I interrupted, my voice low but firm. Because from where I'm standing, I built my business alone while you poured money into Savannah's endless education. Is that what this is about? Jealousy? My phone vibrated in my pocket. Gregory. I ignored it. No, Aunt Zuriel, this is about fairness. And speaking of money, I watched her face carefully. Whatever happened to Mom's trust fund? She went very still. What trust fund? The one you accessed 2 weeks after she died. $2 million. That's a lot of money to disappear without a trace. The color drained from her face, but she recovered quickly. I have no idea what you're talking about. Your mother had no such fund. Really? Because I found the document with your signature. Before she could respond, my phone buzzed again. This time I checked it. Gregory. Urgent. Found something big. Offshore account in Cayman Islands. Call me ASAP. This conversation isn't over, I told Aunt Zuriel, moving toward the door. She grabbed my arm. Eleanor, wait. Perhaps we can discuss this. Come to an arrangement. An arrangement? About the wedding. Maybe if you helped with the venue, we could ensure certain old documents remain private. I stared at her, disgusted. Are you trying to blackmail me into paying for the wedding? I'm trying to protect this family, she hissed. Some things are better left in the past. Dad's exact words. What were they so desperate to hide? Eleanor? Lacey's voice called from the dining room. Where did you go? We'll finish this later, Aunt Zuriel said, straightening her blouse. And Eleanor, remember, family loyalty goes both ways. I waited until she left before calling Gregory. Eleanor, you're not going to believe this, he said without preamble. That money? It wasn't just transferred once. There have been regular deposits to an offshore account for the past 12 years. Most recent one was last month. My hands started shaking. How much? Total? Close to $5 million by now. And here's the kicker. The account name is Montgomery Holdings. Montgomery, Aunt Zuriel's married name. There's more, Gregory continued. I found some old insurance documents. Your mother's accident. Eleanor, there was a 7-figure life insurance policy, paid out to Zuriel Montgomery as trustee. The room seemed to spin, all these years of struggling, of building my business from nothing, while Aunt Zuriel sat on millions, our family's millions. Eleanor? Gregory's voice softened. What do you want to do? I thought about Savannah's entitled demands, Dad's silence, Aunt Zuriel's threats. Keep digging, I said. I want everything. The family pressure intensified over the next week. Constant calls, guilt-tripping texts, even a tearful visit from Savannah herself. But it was Lacey showing up at my door at midnight that finally broke the pattern. I need a drink, she announced, pushing past me into my apartment. Her mascara was smeared, and she clutched her purse like a lifeline. I poured us both a glass of wine. What happened? Aunt Zuriel happened. Lacey took a long sip. She came by my place today, started asking weird questions about you, about what you've been saying to me. What kind of questions? About Mom, mostly, and money. She set down her glass hard enough to slosh wine onto my coffee table. She offered to help with my rent if I'd keep an eye on you. I felt my jaw clench. And I told her to shove it. Lacey's eyes filled with tears. But Ellie, there's something else. Something I should have told you years ago. I sat down beside her, my heart pounding. What? Remember when I was trying to start my photography business right after college? She wouldn't meet my eyes. I went to Aunt Zuriel for a loan. She agreed, but then She made me sign these papers. I didn't really read them. I was so desperate. What papers, Lacey? I think, I think they were about Mom's estate, some kind of waiver of rights. She wiped her eyes. The business failed anyway, and Aunt Zuriel held that loan over my head for years. But tonight, when she tried to bribe me again, something clicked. Why does she have so much money to throw around? I got up and retrieved the trust fund document from my office. Lacey's hands shook as she read it. $2 million? She whispered. But we struggled so much after Mom died. You worked 3 jobs to start your business. I had to drop out of art school. It gets worse. I told her about Gregory's discovery of the offshore account and the insurance policy. Lacey cut herself off, standing up suddenly. We need to check Mom's old things, now. It's midnight. Dad's at his poker game. He won't be home for hours. We need to look while Aunt Zuriel isn't hovering around. 20 minutes later, we were in Mom's old craft room, now used for storage. Lacey went straight to the back corner, pulling out a dusty box. Mom's journals, she explained. I found them years ago but never read them. It felt too private then. We spent the next hour flipping through pages of our mother's elegant handwriting. Most entries were ordinary, daily life, concerns about us kids, little observations about the world. Then I found it. Listen to this, I said, reading aloud. Zuriel's been asking about the trust again. Says Norman's business is in trouble, needs capital. I can't tell if she's lying. She always was good at that. But I made that trust for the girl's future. I won't let her touch it. I looked at the date. This was 3 weeks before the accident. Lacey grabbed the journal. There's more. Found discrepancies in the business accounts today. Large transfers I can't trace. When I asked Zuriel about them, she got defensive. Something's not right. Meeting with my lawyer tomorrow to... She turned the page. That's the last entry. My phone rang, making us both jump. Gregory, Eleanor, I found something disturbing. Those insurance documents? There was an investigation into your mother's accident, but it was suddenly dropped. The detective in charge received a large payment to an offshore account 2 days later. The journal slipped from my hands. That's not all, Gregory continued. I've been tracking the money trail. Most of those millions, they've been funding Savannah's lifestyle, designer clothes, luxury cars, that string of failed businesses she started. But there's a pattern of smaller payments, too, to people who might ask questions. Like the detective, I said numbly. Exactly, Eleanor. I think this goes deeper than simple embezzlement. Lacey was still reading the journal, her face getting paler by the page. Ellie, she interrupted, look at this. She pointed to a loose paper tucked into the binding, a handwritten letter. If anything happens to me, I read aloud, the truth is in the blue box. Love, Mom. Lacey and I stared at each other. The blue music box, she whispered. The one Mom always kept locked. Aunt Zuriel took it after the funeral, said it was worthless. Where is it now? In her house, in that cabinet of collectibles she never lets anyone touch. I spoke into the phone. Gregory, we need to get into Aunt Zuriel's house. Eleanor. His voice was worried. Be careful. People who pay off detectives? I know. I looked at Lacey, saw my own determination reflected in her eyes. But Mom tried to warn us. It's time we found out why. I found Dad in his usual spot, the back porch, nursing a whiskey, staring at Mom's old garden. The journals felt heavy in my bag as I sat beside him. You knew, didn't you? I kept my voice gentle, but he flinched anyway. About the money, about all of it. He took a long drink before answering. Your mother never trusted Zuriel with money, said she was too creative with numbers. Is that what we're calling fraud now? Creative? Eleanor? No. I pulled out Mom's journal. I found these. She knew something was wrong with the business accounts. She was going to meet a lawyer. I paused, watching his face. The next day, she died. The glass slipped from his hand, shattering on the porch. Don't, please. The detective who investigated her accident got a payoff, Dad. An offshore payment, just like the millions Aunt Zuriel's been hiding all these years. He buried his face in his hands. I didn't know, not at first. When did you find out? About a year after your mother. His voice cracked. I found some papers like you did. When I confronted Zuriel, she had explanations, said your mother had been embezzling, that she'd fixed everything to protect the family name. And you believed her? The words came out sharper than I intended. I didn't want to believe anything else. He looked at me finally, eyes red. If what you're suggesting is true, if my own sister, show me the papers. He led me to his office, hands shaking as he opened a hidden safe behind a painting. I kept copies, never knew why, maybe part of me. The documents were damning, not just of Aunt Zuriel's theft, but of her elaborate cover-up. Transfer records, falsified statements, even a letter from Mom's lawyer about scheduling an urgent meeting that never happened. All these years, I said quietly, while Lacey and I struggled, while you remortgaged the house. Aunt Zuriel had millions of our money, and you said nothing. She's still my sister. And Mom was your wife. The words exploded out of me. We were your daughters. We needed you to fight for us. A noise from the doorway made us both turn. Lacey stood there, tears streaming down her face. Is it true? She asked Dad. Did you know about the money? He couldn't meet her eyes. Lacey, honey, my phone buzzed. A text from Gregory. Urgent. Just found email correspondence between Zuriel and the mechanic who worked on your mom's car the week before the accident. Call me now. Before I could process that, another message popped up, this one from an unknown number. Stop digging. Some questions shouldn't be answered. I showed both messages to Dad. The color drained from his face. The mechanic, he whispered. I remember. Your mother complained about the brakes feeling strange. Zuriel recommended her personal mechanic. Lacey made a choking sound. Are you saying Aunt Zuriel might have? We need that blue music box, I cut in. The one Mom mentioned in her letter. It's in Aunt Zuriel's house. Dad stood up suddenly. I have a key to Zuriel's house for emergencies. Dad, no, Lacey protested. If she finds out, she's at her bridge club every Thursday afternoon, he said, moving to his desk. For years I've kept quiet, let her control everything. But if my sister had anything to do with your mother's. He pulled out a key ring, hands steadier now. It's time I chose my daughters. My phone buzzed again. Gregory, don't respond to any threats. I'm documenting everything. But Eleanor, be careful. These people play for keeps. I looked at Dad, still holding the key like it might burn him. At Lacey, wiping tears but standing straighter. At Mom's journal, full of warnings she'd tried to leave us. Tomorrow's Thursday, I said. We go in, find the box, get out. No one needs to know. And then what? Lacey asked. I thought about Savannah's wedding, now just weeks away. About Aunt Zuriel's smug demands and threats. About 12 years of struggling while she lived off our mother's money. Then we get justice, I said. For Mom, for all of us. Dad nodded slowly, placing the key in my hand. Your mother would be proud of you both. She always said truth finds its way to light. Like water, Lacey whispered, quoting Mom's favorite saying. It always finds a crack to flow through. Tomorrow, we'd find more than cracks. We'd blow the whole dam wide open. The key trembled in my hand as we stood at Aunt Zuriel's back door. Thursday afternoon, right on schedule, we'd watched her luxury sedan pull away for Bridge Club. 15 minutes, Gregory reminded us through the phone's speaker. He'd insisted on staying connected. Any longer and we risk her coming back. The lock clicked open. Lacey grabbed my arm. Wait, security system. Dad stepped forward, punching in the code. She never changes it. Our mother's birthday. The irony wasn't lost on any of us. Aunt Zuriel's house was exactly what you'd expect. Expensive, immaculate, and cold. The cabinet of collectibles dominated her formal living room, dozens of precious trinkets displayed behind glass. There, Lacey pointed. Top shelf, far right. Mom's blue music box sat exactly where Lacey remembered, gathering dust among crystal figurines. The cabinet was locked. Now what? Lacey whispered. I pulled out the ring of keys Dad had given me. She keeps everything, he'd said, never throws away a single key. The third key fit. 10 minutes, Gregory warned. The music box was heavier than I remembered. No key in sight. Here, Dad pulled out his wallet, extracting a small key from behind his credit cards. Your mother gave me this, said to keep it safe. My hands shook as I inserted the key. The lid opened with a familiar melody, Mom's favorite lullaby. Inside, beneath a stack of old photos, we found a USB drive and a sealed envelope with "For my daughters" written in Mom's handwriting. 7 minutes, Gregory said. You need to... He cut off abruptly as the sound of a car door slamming echoed from outside. She's back, Lacey hissed. Bridge Club must have canceled. Dad grabbed the USB and envelope, stuffing them in his pocket. Put the box back, exactly as it was. I closed the cabinet just as keys jingled in the front door. We rushed toward the back, but Aunt Zuriel's voice rang out. Hello? Is someone here? Footsteps approached the living room. Dad pushed us toward the kitchen. Go, I'll handle her. Dad, go. We slipped out the back door just as we heard Aunt Zuriel's surprised. Norman, what are you doing here? Lacey and I didn't stop running until we reached my car, parked 2 blocks away. Gregory was still on the line. Eleanor, what happened? We got it, I gasped. But Dad, he stayed behind. Smart move, Gregory said. He can explain his presence without raising suspicion. You two couldn't. My phone dinged with a text from Dad. All clear. Told her I was dropping off wedding RSVPs, meeting you at your place. 20 minutes later, we huddled around my dining room table. The USB drive contained exactly what we'd suspected: financial records, emails, and a video file of Mom speaking directly to camera. My darling girls. Mom's face filled the screen, looking exactly as I remembered. If you're watching this, something has happened to me. I've discovered serious financial irregularities in the family business. Your Aunt Zuriel has been embezzling funds for years, using offshore accounts and false documentation. I'm meeting with lawyers tomorrow, but I'm afraid. Strange things have been happening. My car's been acting weird. I've received threatening notes. If anything happens to me, take this evidence to the authorities. Protect yourselves, and know that I love you both so much. The video ended. Lacey was sobbing. Dad looked like he'd aged 10 years. There's more, Gregory said, examining the financial records. These show systematic theft going back decades. But this is the smoking gun. He pointed to a series of transfers. Money from your mother's accounts to the mechanic who worked on her car, then to the detective. All traced back to Zuriel's offshore account. She killed her, Dad whispered. My own sister murdered my wife. My phone buzzed. Aunt Zuriel, we need to talk, now, about what you took from my house. Another message followed. Don't do anything rash, Eleanor. Think about the family, about Savannah's wedding, about your father's reputation. She knows, Lacey said. Good, I replied, surprising everyone. Let her worry. Let her wonder what we found, what we know. What's our next move? Gregory asked. I thought about Mom's video, about years of struggle, about Aunt Zuriel's smug manipulation. Savannah's wedding is in 2 weeks, I said. Everyone will be there. Family, friends, business associates, the perfect audience. Eleanor, Dad warned, if you're thinking what I think you're thinking. She used our mother's funeral to steal our inheritance, I cut in. It seems fitting to use her daughter's wedding to expose the truth. My phone buzzed again. Aunt Zuriel. Last chance, Eleanor. Name your price. I showed them the message, then typed my reply. You're right, Aunt Zuriel. Family helps family. See you at the wedding. You're really going through with this? Gregory asked, adjusting my dress strap at the wedding rehearsal dinner. We'd decided to attend as a couple to avoid suspicion, though the way he looked at me suggested it wasn't entirely an act. Watch Aunt Zuriel, I whispered. She hasn't taken her eyes off us all evening. Sure enough, my aunt sat at the head table, pretending to listen to the wedding planner while shooting nervous glances our way. The past 2 weeks of silence had clearly unnerved her. Eleanor! Savannah's voice cut through the crowd. I can't believe you actually came. And who's this? My date, Gregory. I smiled sweetly. I decided to contribute to your wedding after all. I'm preparing quite the surprise. Savannah squealed, missing the tension in my voice. I knew you'd come around. Did you hear that, Mom? Eleanor's going to help. Aunt Zuriel's wine glass froze halfway to her lips. How generous of her. Oh, it's the least I can do for family. I met her gaze. Mom always said family was everything. The glass shook slightly in her hand. Later, as guests mingled around the restaurant's bar, Lacey pulled me aside. Logan's asking questions. Savannah's fiancé? About what? He overheard Dad on the phone with his lawyer. He's worried about the family's financial situation. I glanced at Logan across the room, handsome, successful, and completely unaware he was marrying into a family built on murder and theft. Should we warn him? Lacey asked. He'll find out tomorrow with everyone else. Eleanor. Dad appeared beside us, his face grave. Zuriel's asking to speak with you. In private. Perfect timing. I pulled out my phone, starting the recording app. Where? The restaurant's wine cellar. But be careful. I've got this. I squeezed his hand. Gregory? He nodded, positioning himself near the cellar entrance as I descended the stairs. Aunt Zuriel waited between racks of expensive wines, looking oddly vulnerable in the dim light. Name your price, she said without preamble. Excuse me? For whatever you found in that music box, whatever you think you know. She opened her designer purse. I can write a check right now. Like the check you wrote to Mom's mechanic? She stiffened. I don't know what you're talking about. Or the detective? How much does it cost to cover up a murder these days? Murder? She laughed, but it sounded hollow. Your mother's death was an accident. Was it? Because we have proof of payments to the mechanic who tampered with her brakes. Proof of millions stolen from her accounts. Proof of your offshore holdings. I stepped closer. We even have Mom's video testimony. The color drained from her face. You're bluffing. Wanna bet Savannah's perfect wedding on that? You wouldn't dare. Her voice turned harsh. Think about what this would do to the family, to your father, to Savannah's big day. Like you thought about us, while we struggled, while Lacey dropped out of school, while Dad remortgaged his house. You lived off Mom's money. Money meant for us. I deserved that money. The words exploded from her. I built that business with your father, while your mother played artist and homemaker. Then she started asking questions, threatening to expose everything. My phone kept recording as Aunt Zuriel's careful facade cracked. She would have ruined everything, she continued. The business, our reputation, Savannah's future. I couldn't let that happen. So you had her killed. She flinched. I protected this family. Everything I did was for... Save it for tomorrow, I cut in, turning toward the stairs. Tomorrow? At the wedding, when everyone learns the truth. I'll stop you, she called after me. I've done it before. I turned back, letting her see my phone. Thanks for the confession, Aunt Zuriel. It'll go great with Mom's video. Her face contorted. You little... Everything okay down here? Gregory's voice carried from the top of the stairs. Perfect, I replied, climbing up. Just finalizing my wedding contribution. Back in the main room, Lacey and Dad waited anxiously. Did you get it? Lacey whispered. I played them a snippet of the recording. Dad closed his eyes, tears sliding down his cheeks. What now? Gregory asked, his hand finding mine. Now we go home and prepare for tomorrow. I watched Aunt Zuriel emerge from the cellar, her perfect mask back in place as she fussed over Savannah's seating arrangements. Mom always said weddings were about families coming together. Time to show everyone exactly what kind of family we really are. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Last warning, back off or face the consequences. I deleted it without replying. Tomorrow, the only consequences would be Aunt Zuriel's to face. The Hamilton estate glittered with fairy lights as guests filed into the grand ballroom. Aunt Zuriel had spared no expense, our expense technically, on Savannah's perfect day. Everything's ready, Gregory whispered, squeezing my hand. He'd set up the audio-visual equipment under the guise of preparing a wedding slideshow. Just say the word. I watched Aunt Zuriel flutter around the room, checking last-minute details. She'd been avoiding my eyes all morning, but I caught her nervous glances toward the presentation screen. Eleanor! Savannah appeared in a whirlwind of white tulle. Where's your surprise? You promised. After the ceremony, I assured her. Trust me, no one will forget it. The wedding proceeded like a fairy tale. Savannah floated down the aisle while Logan beamed. Aunt Zuriel dabbed at her eyes with an expensive handkerchief. Dad sat rigid beside me, his face a mask of barely contained emotion. Then came the reception. Ladies and gentlemen, the DJ announced, before the first dance, we have a special presentation from the bride's cousin, Eleanor. Aunt Zuriel half rose from her seat. Wait, I stepped to the microphone. Family means everything to us, I began, my voice steady. So I wanted to share some recently discovered family history. The lights dimmed, the screen flickered to life. Mom's face appeared, 12 years younger but unmistakable. Several guests gasped. My darling girls, her recorded voice filled the ballroom. If you're watching this, something has happened to me. I watched Aunt Zuriel's face as Mom detailed the financial theft. The color drained from her cheeks when the evidence appeared. Bank statements, transfer records, emails about brake tampering. Then came last night's recording. I deserved that money, Aunt Zuriel's voice rang out. I couldn't let her expose everything. The room erupted in murmurs. Savannah stood frozen, her perfect makeup streaking with tears. Logan wrapped an arm around her, his lawyer's mind clearly processing the implications. Security! Aunt Zuriel shouted, standing. Stop this immediately. Security's been informed, Gregory called out, along with the police. As if on cue, blue lights flashed outside the estate's windows. You're lying, Aunt Zuriel snarled, but her voice shook. This is all fabricated. Like the accident report? Dad stood, his quiet voice carrying across the stunned room. Like the detective's investigation? Like the mechanic's sudden retirement to Florida? Norman, please, she pleaded. Think about what you're doing to this family. You killed my wife. His words fell like stones in water. You stole from my daughters. You are not my family. Savannah stumbled forward. Mom, what did you do? Everything I did was for you. Aunt Zuriel reached for her daughter. to secure your future, to give you the life you deserved. With blood money? Savannah recoiled. With Aunt Sarah's life? Mrs. Montgomery? A detective appeared at the ballroom entrance. We need you to come with us. This is ridiculous. She backed away. You have no proof. Actually, Gregory stepped forward. We have 12 years of financial records, witness statements from the mechanic and detective, both willing to talk in exchange for deals, and your own recorded confession. Plus Mom's video testimony, Lacey added, her voice strong. Recorded the day before you had her killed. The detective moved closer. Ma'am, please don't make this more difficult. Aunt Zuriel bolted. She made it halfway to the side exit before security caught her. As they led her away in handcuffs, she screamed back at me. You ungrateful brat, after everything I did for this family. You did nothing for this family, I cut in, my voice carrying over her protests. You destroyed it, for money, for control, for your own selfish desires. The ballroom sat in shocked silence as police escorted her out. Savannah collapsed into Logan's arms, her dream wedding transformed into a nightmare. Dad stood stone-faced, watching his sister's departure. Lacey gripped my hand, both of us fighting tears. I'm so sorry, I told the stunned guests. But Mom always said truth finds its way to light, like water through cracks. Through cracks, Dad echoed softly, and several old family friends nodded, remembering Mom's favorite saying. As the police lights faded into the distance, Gregory wrapped an arm around my waist. You okay? I looked at my shattered family, Dad's quiet strength, Lacey's fierce loyalty, even Savannah's dawning comprehension of her mother's true nature. No, I answered honestly, but we will be, because that's what Mom would have wanted, not revenge, but justice, not destruction, but truth. And as the last rays of sunset painted the Hamilton estate in golden light, I felt her presence, finally at peace. The morning sun streamed through Mom's craft room windows as I sorted through boxes with Savannah. She'd shown up at dawn, still in yesterday's wedding dress, asking to help clean out the family home. I found more photos, she said, pulling out an album. Look at this one, you, me, and Lacey at the beach. Before everything. Before your mom turned us against each other, I finished gently. She traced the photo's edge. I keep thinking about all those times she told me I deserved the best. That Eleanor's just jealous, that Lacey's not ambitious enough. Her voice cracked. It was all built on Aunt Sarah's death. The police called this morning, I told her. Your mom's talking, trying to cut a deal. Good. Savannah's voice hardened. Let her talk. Let her face everything she did. The doorbell rang. Logan stood outside, looking exhausted but determined. I've been up all night, he said, stepping inside, going through the financial records Gregory sent over, the extent of the fraud. He shook his head. But I think I found a way to make things right. Dad appeared from his office. What do you mean? The money can be traced, recovered. It'll take time, but as a corporate lawyer, I can help navigate the legal process. He took Savannah's hand. If you'll let me. You still want to marry me? She whispered. After all this? I want to marry you, not your mother's crimes. He smiled slightly. Maybe something smaller than yesterday's event? A knock at the door revealed Gregory, carrying coffee and pastries. Thought everyone could use breakfast. Also, I have news. We gathered in the kitchen as he spread out documents. The offshore accounts are frozen. The insurance company's reopening the investigation into Sarah's death. And, he pulled out a letter. The Family Business Board wants to talk about reinstating Norman as CEO. Dad stared at the letter. I don't know if I can. You can, Lacey said from the doorway. She carried a familiar blue box. Look what I found in Mom's things. Inside the music box lay another envelope we'd missed. marked for Norman. Dad's hands shook as he read Mom's letter. My dearest Norman, if you're reading this, stay strong. The business was your dream before Zuriel twisted it. Don't let her take that from you, too. Lead with honesty, like you always wanted to. She knew, I realized. She knew you weren't part of Aunt Zuriel's schemes. The board meeting's next week, Gregory said. I'll help prepare the financial recovery plan. We all will, Logan added. As a family. Savannah wiped her eyes. Can we use Mom's stolen money to help people? Set up a foundation in Aunt Sarah's name? Already working on it, Gregory smiled. Eleanor had the same idea. The doorbell rang again. This time it was the detective. Thought you'd want to know, he said. Zuriel's given us everything. The mechanic, the cover-up, all of it. She'll be going away for a long time. And the money? I asked. Recovery process starts today. You'll need good lawyers. We've got that covered, Logan and Gregory said together. After the detective left, we sat in Mom's garden, sharing coffee and memories. The morning sun caught the wind chimes she'd loved, creating music from light. I keep thinking about karma, Lacey mused. How everything Aunt Zuriel did to control us just led to this moment, to us being stronger together. Mom would have loved that, I said, the truth setting us free. Speaking of truth, Gregory took my hand. Remember our first fake date at the rehearsal dinner? I'd like to make it real. Maybe start with coffee. Dad chuckled, his first real laugh in days. Sarah always said you two would end up together. She saw things clearly. Unlike some people, Savannah added, then bit her lip. Sorry, too soon for jokes about Mom? No, I squeezed her hand. We need to be able to talk about it, all of it. And then move forward, Logan said. Together. Dad stood, looking at Mom's garden. Sarah loved this place, said every flower had its season. He touched a blooming rose. Maybe it's our season now, to bloom again. Without the poison of secrets, Lacey added, or the weight of stolen money, Savannah said, or the fear of speaking truth, I finished. Gregory raised his coffee cup. To Sarah, who taught us that family isn't about control or money. To Mom, we echoed, who showed us that truth, like water, always finds its way. The wind chimes sang in harmony, and somewhere I knew Mom was smiling. Her garden would bloom again, nourished by truth instead of lies, by love instead of fear, and this time we'd tend it together.